Amastuola, where history, art, and nature meet in an original landscape. In the territory of Taranto, in the hilly countryside of Crispiano, the Amastuola garden vineyard stretches out over more than 100 hectares on a 210-meter-high plateau, creating a wave of time. An arrival at Amastuola is greeted by a long driveway flanked by regularly spaced, centuries-old olive trees, which visually follow one after the other, parading like silvery patches that gradually decompose and then recompose. Thereabouts, the lines of the small, dry stone walls proceed for 9,000 meters in the grassy mantle that changes color with the passing of the seasons, thus delineating the paths of discovery. The garden vineyard, which is entirely organic, represents a project for exploiting the territory in the direction of sustainable development, recovering unproductive fallow land and making it fertile once again, using autochthonous grape varieties, in a work of territorial and landscape innovation that interprets agriculture as a garden to be lived.
Come un giardino da vivere.
Located just a few kilometers from the wave-lapped coast of the Ionian Sea, Amastuola's microclimate is favorable to organic farming, with the mineral-rich soil adding flavor and body to the wine, typical of the Mediterranean taste that pervades this strip of Puglia on the western coast. Amastuola is the name of the high ground of the territory that surrounds it and of the farm, the origins of which date back to the 16th century, when the residence was built on its summit, thus dominating the entire plain of Taranto at the edges of the countryside surrounding the town of Crispiano, 15 kilometers from Taranto. From the surrounding areas, which are buttressed by centuries-old olive trees, the route of discovery leads, by means of inside steps sculpted in the stone, to a search for surprising views depicted on the windows like paintings, to lead onto terraces with panoramic views that reveal the unprecedented scenario of a land cradled by history, furrowed by time, and currently designed by the waves of change. From this position, where the Greek sentries once controlled the Ionian Sea, a single glance is enough to embrace the continuous coastline from Puglia to Lucania, and on, as far as Calabria, and history unfolds in front of one's gaze.
Palanca sulla storia.
The Amastuola Garden Vineyard is a unique model of harmony between modern production and the aesthetics of the landscape, and represents one of the first Italian examples of garden-inspired agriculture.
Progettata come un giardino.
This idea originated from the creativity of Giuseppe Montanaro, the owner of the estate and an agricultural and industrial entrepreneur, who roams freely in his work with the same tonal variety of the surrounding landscape. The vine rows, lined up according to the espalier system, have been planted on the basis of a design conceived by the landscape artist Fernando Caruncho, a Spanish gardener of international fame, who has interpreted them as parallel sinuous rivulets that follow one another for about 3 kilometers, thus forming perpetual waves of time that have crossed this place ever since antiquity.
Fin dall'antichità.
$1,500 olive trees, dated as being more than 800 years old by the National Center for Research in Perugia, have been rescued as historical monumental relics and reorganized into 24 islands that stand out amongst the smooth surface of the vineyard. With their strong, solid trunks that often exceed 2.5 meters in diameter, these magnificent natural monuments mark the route along the farm's historic roads. The Amastuola farm is surrounded by about 170 hectares of land, most of which are cultivated with vineyards, with centuries-old olive trees and dry stone walls, and rises inside an area that has been strewn with farms ever since the late medieval period.
Tardo medievale.
Amastuola Farm is situated between areas that have preserved the precious jewels of Taranto for centuries and is a part of the Terra delle Gravine Regional Park.
Terra delle Gravine.
This rocky surrounding zone abounds in characteristic natural vegetation, in which cluster pine trees alternate with Mediterranean maquis, creating all around them a visually characteristic land of the 100 farms. The The Amastuola farm has been documented as an agricultural center of reference ever since the 15th century. The agricultural history and the wine-growing vocation of the land on which Amastuola rises date, however, to the Grecia Magna period, as testified to by numerous archaeological investigations carried out on its lands.
Svolte sui suoi terreni.
The Greeks reportedly came there by sea and ventured as far as the Amastuola plateau, where they settled.
Dove si insediarono. Amastuola is a farm with a closed yard arranged around a large courtyard, which is itself dominated by a 19th century chapel that used to provide religious services to the local inhabitants. The settlement consists of the owner's residence, which rises over a succession of arches that at one time were used as shelter for animals. Outside, enclosures and other scattered buildings complete the residence. Amastuola is also part of the Cento Masserie consortium of Crispiano. Thanks to the innovative nature of its planning, the Amastuola Garden Vineyard arouses continuous interest on the part of the Italian and foreign wine and landscape worlds, and is the object of study at a universal level. A livello mondiale.
The Masseria Amastuola, with its garden vineyard that is unique in the world, is a favorite destination for visits by botanists, architects, landscape gardeners, and environmentalists, and has been noted as an Italian model of reference for the development of agricultural landscapes. In 2009, the Amastuola Vineyard received an award from the Umbrian region as an example of the first-rate practice of recovering fallow agricultural landscapes, and from the Puglian region in 2011 as an example of the first-rate practice of safeguarding and exploiting the agricultural landscape, also for tourist purposes. The complete perspective over the waves of the vineyard unfolds as one gradually advances, ascending towards the farm. The waves seem to move, at times taking on the appearance of wind-blown combed corduroy, and by the sun that is low on the horizon at sunset. May the winds be with you.
Buon vento.